Hello and welcome to Darnyougluten, where every Wednesday I make a delicious gluten-free recipe that can be made by anyone and everyone. Today we're going to be making the most addictive salted caramel that can be used as a topping or filling for pretty much anything you want. So I hope you really like this recipe. I am so excited for you to see the video. Don't forget to put a thumbs up or subscribe if you like it, and let's get cooking.
The ingredients you will need include 180 grams of caster sugar, 60 milliliters or a quarter cup of water, 20 centiliters of liquid cream with at least 33% fat, 20 grams of butter cut into cubes, 1 teaspoon of Himalayan salt. You can use fleur de sel if you have any, but personally I found it a bit too expensive. And then you will need a clean and sterilized jar that has a lid. And if you have a candy thermometer, it can be helpful to know when you reach 180 degrees Celsius. But if you don't have one, don't worry. We're mainly going to be looking at the color of the caramel anyway. Start by pouring the liquid cream into a small saucepan. Place the sugar and the water into a thick-bottomed, high-edged saucepan that has a lid. Put the lid on the sugar and the water mixture and place on a medium to low heat. At this stage, you're simply dissolving the sugar into the water. The water will evaporate and then condense on the lid. As it will have nowhere else to go but back into the mix, it will trickle down the edges of the pan. This is important as the water droplets will clean the edges of the pan of any eventual sugar crystals that may have formed at the surface of the mixture. If these were left alone, they would stick to the edges of the pan and later impact the caramel by encouraging the whole mixture to crystallize. The lid also removes any temptation to stir the mixture, which would also cause the sugar to crystallize, as I discovered in earlier tests to my dismay. If you don't have a lid, you can rinse off those crystals from the edges with a brush, but beware of stray brush hairs falling into the sugar. When the crystals have dissolved and your sugar-water mix has formed a white syrup, you can remove the lid and potentially put your thermometer in the pan if you have one, although I found my mix wasn't really deep enough to do this anyway. And then turn the heat up on the cream to almost bring it to a boil. And don't be tempted to stir your caramel. If you really can't resist, make sure you use a wooden spoon and not a metal one so that you don't completely change the temperature of the caramel. But the best thing to do if you see your caramel isn't heating evenly is to swirl the whole pan around. When the mix reaches between 80 and 100 degrees Celsius, it should already be bubbling but still clear. The water will start to evaporate more and therefore the syrup will thicken. Around 110 degrees Celsius, the syrup will start to turn golden in places, and already at 120 degrees Celsius, it will start smelling like caramel. So you're supposed to reach 180 degrees for the mix to be caramel, and at this point, it will be a deep golden colour. Just be careful not to let it heat past that point, or it'll start to burn and have a bitter taste. You can remove the pan from the heat and pour in the hot liquid cream, being extremely careful and pouring slowly as the mixture will bubble up and maybe even spit. So don't forget that your sugar is almost twice as hot as boiling water. I don't know if you can imagine how painful that could be to touch. Once you've poured all the cream in, stir it with a wooden spoon. The caramel will lighten in colour and thicken. Add in the butter and the Himalayan salt and stir them in. You can now pour your caramel into your jar, let it cool for a while, then put the lid on and leave it to set in the fridge for a couple of hours. If you don't put the lid on, then it won't set quite as thick. I guess that's because it absorbs humidity in the fridge, but don't quote me on that. When it's done, you'll still be able to spoon it out and spread it, but it'll be thick enough to not slip right off a knife. And now you can enjoy this perfectly delicious salted caramel. Thank you for watching this video and see you next week. Bye!
Don't know what I'm doing. Just sitting here talking to myself.